All right, John. Man, I think we met through, what was it, Facebook, if I remember
Yeah, I
correctly? Yeah.
think we
And
connected on
so,
Facebook. Yeah.
yeah. And so I love connecting with people like yourself, John, and just how we find ourselves. And we came on and we spoke a little bit about your journey. I know you mentioned entrepreneurship and faith and some other stuff that came up along the way. So I would love first share where you're at in your entrepreneurship journey. And then I really like to see how we can touch on the faith part of how it helped you to get to where you are today, because that intrigued me a lot. And I'm curious to know more about that. But share with us your entrepreneur journey, where you're at today, what are you up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned, my name is John Prather. I'm a business coach, and I particularly specialize on helping small business entrepreneurs turn their content into cash flow, learning how to create extra clients and extra income through social media. But to give you a little bit of my backstory, I actually grew up in the Maryland, D.C. area, played collegiate football, and around the time I was graduating from college, I studied engineering. I was looking to go to play professional football. I had a pretty good college career, and thought, you know what, let me go after it. Let me see what's out there. A mentor of mine told me, hey, jobs will be there when you get back. You might as well go and chase your dream. So around that time, right as I was graduating, I graduated a semester early. A friend of mine had reached out to me about potentially starting a business opportunity. It ended up being in the network marketing, multi-level marketing space. And it was kind of perfect timing. I was training to play pro football. I ended up playing in Canada for a year, and in arena football in the Midwest for a year. And during that time, this is pre-COVID, there weren't too many remote job opportunities. So I was looking for a way to create some extra income while I was still training, working out, doing those different things. Because again, it was hard to keep a full-time job. So when he had brought this opportunity to me, I was like, hey, I could, market it. It sold a lot of, health and nutrition products. I was like, all right, I'm working out, I'm training. I might as well utilize the products that I can market myself and then share them with other people. So that really first opened my mind to business ownership and entrepreneurship. And fast forward, it's been about 7 or 8 years now. I still have built that to a pretty successful level. But in addition to working in our network marketing business, I've also started a business coaching brand where I'm working with small business owners and entrepreneurs to start scaling through, content and everything like that. So yeah, so that was kind of my initial journey. Was just looking to make a little bit of extra money. But obviously, when I got exposed to, mentors and coaching and, business events and networking events, it really opened my eyes to what else was out there. Because I definitely grew up in the mindset of go to school, get a good education, get a good job. But when I got exposed to, hey, you can make money in a lot of different ways. You don't necessarily have to work 9 to 5 till 65. I really got attracted to that. And once I stopped playing football, I really jumped all in while still working full time into being an entrepreneur, and to start growing that very aggressively. So yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I still build my network marketing business. I'm a business coach to a few clients, and just looking to scale that and help other people.
Yeah. And so your friend introduced you to network marketing. Did
Correct.
did you find it and you're like, okay, this sounds cool. I can earn money, I can whatever that is, right?
Mhm,
But did you
mhm.
find a hard time transitioning your mindset from I have to work, get a job, or I'm sorry, I have to go to school, get a job and have that life to say now I can go ahead and do network marketing or being an entrepreneur and shifting that mindset, or was it very easy for you?
Feel like it was more easy, and I think the reason why was because again, I looking back on my football career, I really was very self-motivated, self-disciplined. I always went above and beyond, and that's one of the reasons why I excelled at the collegiate level and went on to play professionally. And I feel like looking back now, it was such a great transition because as football was ending, I had such a hunger and a desire. I worked out, all day, every day. So I know that looking back, if I didn't have anything to really pour myself into, I'm not sure what I would have done with that extra time. So being able to pivot as I was ending my football career into being an entrepreneur, it gave me the perfect outlet, not physically, but mentally, to take those same attributes of self-discipline, keeping myself onto it, keeping my time managed well, going out and serving other people. It was a really good transition from pouring myself into football to then pouring myself into business and helping other people. So I'm really thankful about that because looking back, if I didn't have that, and I were to just go straight into a 9 to 5, which I did and would have done, I don't really know what I would have done with my time. After 5 o'clock, I would have been so bored. I wouldn't have had anything to do. So having a business to really go after, was very I think beneficial to keep that same mindset from sports into business.
Yeah, so the football training and the coaching you got helped you develop discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I was able to transition those same skill sets, just different. Instead of working out and lifting weights, it was, going out, networking, cold calls, cold messaging people, all that type of stuff.
right. So that was new for you, networking and cold calls and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because growing up, I'd never done anything business related. I was, like I said, grew up my whole life, only worked like one or two, part-time jobs in high school, really just focused completely on school and sports. So I had some friends in college who had done some drop shipping and, side businesses here and there. I never took it too seriously, but that's really what opened my mind to it. But while I was in college as an engineer, student athlete, I didn't really have time to do much. But it kind of opened my eyes. And around that time, as my time freed up because I graduated from college and was just pursuing football, it kind of fell into my lap as to, oh, you know what? My friends did some online type of businesses. And, when he kind of explained the concept of having my website, being able to network, recruit other people, I was like, huh, this sounds like a good avenue to create some extra passive income while still maintaining what I was doing full time, which was pursuing my professional football career.
Yeah, but how did you develop the skills to talk to people, to network and sell stuff?
Yeah, so that came pretty early on. So in our network marketing business, we had a mentorship system, and they basically teach and walk you through. So what I typically did is we focused on two forms of networking with people, in person and online. So for me, very comfortable with online. Grew up with social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So I was really good at that. That's in fact how I got approached through network marketing. It was a friend, but looking back, he became a friend. I didn't know him from before. He was like a mutual connection on LinkedIn. We ended up talking, and then we ended up working together and becoming really good friends. So that's typically how I went about building my business, using scripts, connecting with people. But I feel like for me, and what I love the most about network marketing is it was such a good training ground to work with people because I was super introverted. I wasn't very outgoing when I first, just my upbringing. But as I started learning, like you said, through coaching calls, networking events, learning from my mentors who were making, six, seven figures on how to show a presentation, how to talk to somebody new, how to create rapport with a client and potentially move them to the next steps. I just went through that over and over and over again. I was really bad when I got started, but I was willing to kind of like from the football perspective, I committed to the process of saying, you know what, I might not be good now, but I see people who are making a lot of money. I know that if I put in the same amount of effort, I can eventually get there. And that's kind of where it all started. So there was kind of a systematic approach in play where, obviously in network marketing, you can do three-way calls and things like that. So I kind of learned a lot through observation. I didn't necessarily jump into it, like jumping into the deep end right away. But the mindset and the motivation, and the discipline, I definitely transitioned from my football career into learning the skill set. Kind of like again with athletics, training. I trained in business now.
Yeah. Would you recommend somebody jumping into network marketing since you've been in this for so long?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people have a lot of mixed emotions about it because some people have good experiences, some people have bad. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I feel like I've had an amazing experience, and like I said, still am very active to this day. Because, like I said, it was such a good training ground. Like I can look back, and it really grew me into like a man, a business owner. It helped me in my career. Just learning certain skills of like again how to communicate with people. Thinking back as an engineer, a lot of the classmates that I had were really skilled in mathematics and engineering, but again with presentation skills, networking, getting even just the getting an interview, having conversations with the recruiters, like I could sense. And even when I was newer or when I was younger, I wasn't that great at it, and a lot of my classmates weren't either. But when you kind of throw yourself into entrepreneurship, you kind of have to get better. You have to develop a skill of talking to people and connecting with people and figuring out what their needs are and how you can help them and how you can serve them. So I always recommend it to everybody, whether they end up joining my team or they go and do another network marketing business. I always recommend it because it's grassroots entrepreneurship. You learn so many skills. You have the potential to scale and grow a larger business and create more passive income. But even if you don't, even if you just give it 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you actually put effort into it, you'll learn so many skill sets that you can pivot into to another business opportunity. You can level up in your career. Like I've gotten so many promotions just on the skills that I've learned in network marketing, using them in my career. So I've had an amazing experience, and I know other people haven't, and there's justification for that and all of that. But for me, I've had an amazing experience, and I always recommend it to the people that I talk to.
That's awesome. So it's not just about the money part, because a lot of people go into it for the money, right?
Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah. Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah.
great. This is going to get me out of my job, etc.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love how you're spinning this because now you gained education, stuff that you wouldn't get from a school, right? Because
Absolutely.
now it's all hands-on, it's experience. What is the best way you would say that you can connect with somebody that you haven't met before? From your experience with networking and stuff, how would you approach that?
Yeah. When I was new in business, I was taught this method. It's called FORM, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and message. So the way that we kind of taught it, especially in our team, is we started off with people connecting with something family, or occupation related. So like if you're connecting with somebody, you're sitting down with a client, you're sitting down with somebody new, you want to get to know them. You don't want to jump straight into business, especially if this is a brand new connection. So getting to know them, getting to know a little bit of their background, what do they do? What's their family relations? Where did they grow up? What's kind of their background a little bit? So FO is the first two. And then, recreation again depends on the person. What do they like to do for fun? Because these are all things, these are like data points that when you look back at, you can use it to help you with the last point, which is your message or your offer or what you want to potentially propose to this individual. If it's a network marketing opportunity, business coaching, a book, whatever it might be. So FORM, go through family, occupation, recreation, and then your message. So as you start to get to know this person, you can already start to sort of analyze, okay, what are potential objections that might come up when we're talking about the network marketing space? Okay, have they ever had an experience in it? Do they have family members that are all employees or people that are business owners? Because again, if you've grown up in an environment which is, a small business owner, or you had a family member that was like a mechanic or something like that, they might have a better understanding of, like you mentioned, a lot of people just get into network marketing or into any business like, oh, I'm going to make a killing, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money, I'm going to be making seven figures in the next year or so, which in some cases you can, but it's not really practical in many opportunities. So if somebody comes in with the mindset of knowing, of having had a business owner relative or family member, they kind of already know going in, oh, this was a hardworking individual. They reaped a lot of rewards, but they had to sow a lot. They did a lot of work on the back end. And some people come in with no background, like I didn't. I had no family members who are entrepreneurs. So things like that, getting to know a little bit of their mindset. Like, are they just curious about an opportunity, or are they seriously looking for an opportunity? They have a need, want, or desire. So those are some of the things, just by having those conversations, using some, certain soft skills, asking good questions, asking them, hey, what do you like the most about your job? Or, hey, do you see yourself working in this career for a long period of time? I remember one of my mentors taught me a question: is this a job or a career? So you kind of get an idea, is this person serious about what they're doing? Do they see a future in it, or it's just paying the bills for now? So those are the ways I feel like, for me, whether you're approaching somebody for an opportunity or you're just getting to know them, creating a friend, are good ways to kind of gather information and data points. And then if you do have an offer for them as a business owner, then you kind of already know going in, okay, what's their mindset before I even present an offer? Are they somebody that's even looking for an opportunity? Because sometimes people disqualify themselves just through the conversation. If they're like, I love my job, I would never leave, I can't wait to become a partner in the next 3 years. Okay, I might bring up the opportunity, but I probably, in the back of my mind, they're probably not looking. They're probably, focused on what they're doing. So those are a few of the things. FORM was the framework that I've used, and obviously you can expand out from there. But yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm just going to bring this up. It could be something like in your background here, you got the football helmet. If I didn't know
Hmm.
anything about you, where'd you get that from? Or if I knew what that helmet was about, I don't know
Hmm.
the team or anything, I could mention that, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm just right. Would this be something that you could use as well?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can ask people about their backgrounds, or if you're out at networking events, you can kind of ask them about their career, or things like that. But yeah, you want to get people love talking about themselves. People love talking about what they're doing. So if you keep the focus on them, what I've noticed, a lot of people who are in the sales profession or in network marketing or in a business, they like to talk about what they have to talk about, or they're not listening to listen, they're just listening to respond. So like you mentioned, genuinely getting an interest in the person, because people can kind of tell, okay, is this person, is John, are you interested in what I have to say, or are you just waiting to hear my response so that you can bring up what you want to bring up? And that's a lesson that I had to learn, because I was very much so like that when I first got started in business. Was very much so just, asking questions, but I wasn't really listening. I was just like, I
Mhm.
kind of knew the right questions to ask. And then it was like, okay, when they say this, I know exactly what to bring up. And again, it works to some extent, but if you genuinely get to know somebody, not only do you build rapport with them, but you also build trust. And people only do business with people they know, like, or for trust. So eventually you might be able to sway, convince, kind of, yeah, convince a few people, but ultimately long-term relationships, long-term business partnerships, you got to have that trust and that foundation. So getting to know somebody genuinely, really seeing if what you have to offer is going to be beneficial for them, I think that's key. Because if it's not, you could talk them into it. But again, you talk them in, then they're just going to get right out, But if it's an actual genuine fit and you can really articulate that to them, then they're in for life, and you're going to have a great partnership in whatever that you do.
Right. So did you find, so you asking questions, you're getting the feedback from these people, but now maybe it wasn't in the beginning, but now do you find yourself listening and having that building that relationship even more now?
Absolutely. I think one thing that I've learned through network marketing and business coaching and just having different mentors is I feel like I've adopted the mindset now where I truly genuinely, and this might sound weird, but I don't care if the person buys or joins my team. I'm genuinely interested in sharing the information, seeing what their, likes or desires are, trying to connect a little bit with their why, and just allowing them to make the right decision for themselves. And for me, that's been super freeing, because previously, when you kind of adopt that mindset of a salesman, or you want to hit a goal or you want to hit a quota, you're kind of on edge. It's like, okay, well, you kind of feel like the person in front of you is, I gotta close them, I gotta get them, versus if you have a bigger perspective of it's just a numbers game, as long as I talk to the right amount of people and I have genuine conversations, and I do generally the right thing and have good conversation with them, X number of people are going to say yes and X number of people are going to say no. And I just have to go through the numbers. It takes so much stress off of you as an entrepreneur. And it allows you to genuinely connect with people, because you don't look at this person as a number. You look at them as somebody like, hey, this might be somebody that's interested. This might be somebody that's not. Or, hey, maybe this is a later person. Maybe we just create a good relationship now. But hey, maybe we connect in the next couple of months or couple of years when the timing is better. And that I've seen get tremendously more results, than just going strictly by a script or just following exactly, a script or a paper. Because typically when you're super robotic, people, again, they can sense it, they know
Yeah.
if you're being genuine or not.
Yeah, this is perfect because I just came off of a call where I was just sharing about how the podcast and stuff, and this was a woman I met over a year ago. I was in her group for a
Hmm.
little bit, and she just had me on, and so we built that rapport. Like she reached out to me, like so she knows I exist, and it wasn't
Yeah,
all about selling; it was about helping others, right? Provide value, and so th this is
exactly.
just perfect how this is all just aligning, and you're sharing this. I love it. I
Yeah.
know when we had that discussion, I mentioned a little bit earlier how you
Yeah.
found faith in being an entrepreneur. Was there a time that you had a rough time and you had to find that faith? And what has the experience been for you since you did find faith and move forward with entrepreneurship?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I kind of just like you mentioned, I found my faith as a Christian in Jesus Christ, through business and entrepreneurship. And it really, as you mentioned, it came through the struggles, because again, I'm sure as you know, and everybody who's business owner knows, entrepreneurship is ups and downs. It's never a straight line up. You're not always going to be successful. So for me, that was kind of my mindset. I was fairly, like I said, I came out of football fairly successful. It was, one of very few players that actually had an opportunity to play for professionally. So I kind of came in with that mindset of, okay, if I do the a right amount of work, I'm going to see success. I'm going to be, financially well off and all of that stuff. And it worked to an extent, but again, there's ups and downs. So it was kind of in that, they call it the valley of despair, where it's like I'm super excited, and then you kind of realize, okay, this isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to be making, 4 or 5 figures a month, in my third month in business. It's going to take a little bit of time to really get this off the ground. And it was during that time period where that's where I kind of found faith, because I realized I was trying to be too controlling over everything that I was doing. And I feel like that's what most entrepreneurs, just by nature, we want to control things. We want to make sure, hey, if I can just have the vision in my head, operate, that's exactly what would work. It would be perfect. But again, when you're working with people, there's a lot of different variables. So for me, like I said, that's what kind of helped me and kind of that mindset that I was just telling you about, where not being so scripted, not being so controlling, as I was just describing, that kind of came through faith, because I realized, okay, I can't control everything. Whether somebody joins my team or not, whether this client stays around or not, whether they listen to what I share with them or not, it's not in my control. I can only control myself, the actions I take, the attitude I have, the work ethic that I put in. And I just have to let God take care of the rest. And I feel like when I started to adopt that mindset and truly lean into it, one, it gave me peace, just like Jesus said, he gives you peace that surpasses all understanding. But two, it also gives you just that level of comfort to realize that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. As long as I'm doing good by people, I'm not trying to, cheat them out of money. I'm not trying to steal anything from them. I'm genuinely trying to help them. Um, Things tend to click a lot better. And when you see success, it stays together longer and it can grow much more. Because again, there's only a certain capacity one individual can help and really scale something. At some point, other forces have to come into play and you have to get lucky, for lack of a better term. And I feel like that for me really pivoted when I started to lean on my faith much more. And I've seen that in other business owners as well. I mean, almost any business owner you talk about, like I remember Dave Ramsey's a big one where he talks about, finding his faith, and that's really what turned everything around. And he started to build his business and finance, and many others. And those were some of the stories that I remember listening to during that time period in my life. And it really helped me as I transitioned. And this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now at this point.
Okay. It's interesting. So you're basically lifting the weight off your shoulders and
Hmm.
giving it to God, right? And
Yes,
allowing Him to have control and give you what is, supposed to come to you at the right time. And you're there to serve others in however capacity you can handle, right? Whatever that is, whether it's just listening to
exactly.
somebody or talking to them, and maybe it's you sharing them to somebody else that might be able to help them along the way. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I find it fascinating. I believe in God too, and it's been a journey for me because it's
Hmm.
probably 3, 4 years for me now with that, and I'm just picking up on the business side of it, right? And
Hmm.
and applying, the because we all want control, right? We got to do this. We got to
Exactly.
get sales. We got to hit all our numbers, right? Um, and I'm glad you're sharing this because I truly believe what you're saying because it's not just you that I hear it from where if you just let it go and you don't have the anxiety, you don't have depression or anything like that of the struggles as being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
you'll get somewhere. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, for example, what was it like that you've seen over the past 4 or 5 years that actually made a big difference having this faith?
Yeah, I think one thing I was going to mention is perfect for this question is just like we were talking about before about connecting with people and identifying and truly saying, okay, I just want to serve people. I want to help people. I want to take the weight off of myself and having to feel like I'm curating all these results and just say, hey, you know what, God, just send the people in my life that I can bless, that I can help, whether it's a client, a business partner, or, a customer, whatever it might be. And I have the training, I know what to do as long as I take care of my part, I'm just going to allow you to bring the people in my life, whether you're, cold messaging people, cold calling, reaching out, connecting with people, however you connect with people, you just have that faith of allowing people. And one thing that I wanted to mention is a mindset that I had, previously, and I still have it to this day, but just like you were talking about a way to connect with people, that's kind of how I viewed myself was like, hey, if my only thing that I am in this person's life is just a blessing, um, I'm happy with that. And one of the things that I kind of adopted in that mindset of talking to people is, just complimenting people randomly. Like whenever I'm out, whenever I'm, at the grocery store, at the store, or out and about, hey, can I just give a compliment to 2 or 3 people? And, one of the goals was have that compliment lead into a conversation, potentially we sit down and talk. But even if the conversation just ends at, hey, you have a nice shirt. Hey, you have a nice jacket. I remember hearing in our mentorship program so many times where people were like, just because this person connected with me or had this conversation, I was thinking about suicide or I was thinking about these problems. And because this person saw me, it changed everything. I didn't go through with it, or I'd heard that from 2 or 3 audio talks that I was listening to, and I just made a decision like, hey, you know what? If I'm just that, even if they never become a business partner, obviously I know I can help them, I can teach them good skills, and they can make some money with me. Even if that doesn't happen, but if I just see people, because you realistically look back, like how many people nowadays feel like they're seen? I feel like we're so connected because of our phones, but we're not actually connected. We're connected virtually, but we're not connected actually physically. And, just being that light, kind of like Jesus says, be the light in a dark place. I feel like that's so powerful. And like I said, that was kind of the mindset that I had. I started to embody that, and it's kind of grown into, again, sort of that I'm not the magic. As long as I do what I need to do, the other parts of it are going to take over. And as long as I'm faithful and, stewarding what I have, I can be trusted with a little, I'll be trusted with a lot. But like you said, it's tough a little bit, because again, sometimes you want things to grow a little bit faster, you want things to progress in a certain way. And you have to kind of have that faith that, hey, as long as I'm doing the right thing, hey, I might need to pivot. You have to have that wherewithal to look back and audit yourself. Hey, is what I'm doing getting the results I want? Okay, if it's not, I got to pivot. I can't just be so faithful that, I just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But you also have to have that faith enough to give it some time. Some people are like shiny object syndrome. They try something for 2 weeks and then they're like, oh, it's not working. So that's a little bit too quick. But again, if you're working at something for maybe 4, 5, 6 years and it's not giving you the results, okay, now you might need to switch something up. You need to do different things. But it's kind of finding that middle ground where, as long as you're serving people, you're helping people, and you're working towards your goals. Like I said, for me, it was super freeing. It allowed business to be much more fun, rather than getting burned out in the daily grind of it all, which, again, we've all come across that, I'm sure, in different parts of our journey.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I loved how you shared about reaching out to people and just talking to them, saying nice shirt, etc. So a quick story, I was at an event and there was this guy on stage and he's like, just pull out your phone and say I love you to somebody, right? And
Mm,
whatever, whoever that is, right? Just somebody that came to your head. And he shared this story where he did it to his buddy, not knowing that he was going to pass away the next day. Because
oh,
he
wow.
was in the hospital or whatever, and he's like, "I love you, bro," or whatever, and then he got a message back, something along the lines like he's in the hospital or something like that. And so he's like, if I didn't do that, then I didn't feel like I completed, I didn't say what I wanted to say, right? I hesitated, waited too
Mm,
long.
true.
So I remember a few people in the audience was like, because he asked, he said, anybody got responses? And some people, one person was like, are you okay? Meaning because they were committed suicide before. So when they said, I love you, they thought that person was going to do it.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, you know what I mean? So that's how that person
Yeah.
took it. But then there was another person that said, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm in rehab or something. Like he's changing his life around. So, but
Yeah.
if they didn't do that, they wouldn't know. So like, it's
Hmm.
just I love it. It's just reaching out to the people that I know some people do it every day on through text or whatever. Just say you're grateful for three people or whatever, and say I love you, whatever that is. Um, we do lose that connection. We do. We really do as human beings. And we have
Hmm.
to focus on that. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's huge. And going back to the whole faith journey, I love what you're sharing because it can change so many lives, so many, not just entrepreneurs, but just people themselves. And, I know a few people that are struggling through a few things. And, if they just lifted that weight off of them, they could just breathe a little bit, have some joy, and just know life is okay. Um, I
Yeah.
I can share a quick story with you. Like
Yeah.
I found my girlfriend back in August of last year, not knowing that we would become boyfriend girlfriend, but I
Hmm.
just prayed. I prayed, right? And then when the time came, right? And that's what
Yeah.
happened, right? So same thing, and I'd say that because same thing with business and everything else like that. So it's just whatever that is, just release it and not have all the control in the world.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you bring a good point to it. So I'm glad you shared that. So, and you're continuing to do that today. And so where are you projecting your business to get to, through faith and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So my goal for this year, I was actually just talking about this with somebody. My goal for this year is to help 10 individuals or couples start and scale their first online business to 4 or 5 figures per month by the end of 2026. And the primary way that I want to help people do that is whether you're an existing entrepreneur, how you can create an extra 4 to 5 figures per month through content creation, or if you're brand new, you're looking to start a business, whether it's network marketing or helping you start something more personal or unique to your journey, walking people through that. So one of the tools that I've actually just come out with is called the Plug and Profit Guide. It's about a 2 to 3 page PDF, which kind of walks you through how to start implementing AI and content creation into your business. So whether, again, you're brand new to entrepreneurship, you want to start something, or you already have a business that's cash flowing, making you money, how can you add on another stream of revenue in addition to what you're doing? So I can share that with you if you want to put it in the show notes below for anybody listening. But that's my goal for this upcoming year. Personally, one of my other goals as well is to scale out of my 9 to 5 job. I still work as a full-time engineer. Love what I do, really great. But obviously wanting to scale up and be a full-time entrepreneur and put all of my focus into working with clients, working with my team, is definitely my focus in the next 6 to 12 months, I would say. So we're on track for that. But again, anybody that wants to join in that journey and wants to start the journey of their own, definitely would be happy to work with them or even sit down with a free consultation and see where they're at.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll put whatever you have, I'll put in the show notes, how they can connect with you. So you really want to help more and more clients. That's your purpose? That's your passion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's extremely focused on other people, how I can help them start and scale their business. Because again, I feel like a lot of people nowadays, especially in today's economy with AI and where things are going in the job world, a lot of people are going to be out of a job in the next couple of years. And, thinking back to where I was before I saw entrepreneurship, before I realized that I could do more than just what I was taught my whole life, I really want to share that with other people because so many people have abilities and gifts that they could share with others, but they've been trained to kind of, okay, all I can do is work a 9 to 5, or, I could never go out on my own. But, I just needed that one or two people in my life to kind of speak life into me and to believe that I could do it to get me on that path. And I feel like I can do that to others as well. So that's really my goal is to work intimately. And that's why I'm saying about, 10 or so people, because I want enough to really be able to impact, but I'm also not looking for hundreds of people because you can only have so much impact on a certain amount of people. So that's really what I want. I want to like intimately work with a few people and really help them believe and scale themselves up, and really help them create that extra income. Because again, you never know. I mean, depending on what industry you're in, I've been hearing obviously rumblings about layoffs and things like that. So again, these next couple of years are going to be kind of crazy. So, if you can turn AI into a cash flow machine rather than taking away your job, that could be beneficial for some people.
I totally agree. Yeah. And so if you're not using AI, you're missing the boat. All right. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So whoever is watching this, listening, definitely reach out to John, see what kind of services he has that can help you along the way with your business. And John, I would love for you to answer just this one question I ask everybody at the end. So what are three key
Absolutely.
things you've learned and used along your journey?
Yeah, I would say that's a really great question. The three things, the first thing I would say that I learned on the journey was self-belief. So
Mm,
kind of just like I was talking about growing up, in a great family, a great home, learning and developing, but didn't really grow up in an area or, in the mindset of I can do anything. And I feel like again, it's kind of taught through schools and friendships and, high school and all this with different friend groups and things like that, sometimes you kind of get beat down a little bit. Can I achieve my goals? Can I ultimately do this? And your big goals when you're a kid start to shrink down to, I just want to live a comfortable life, rather than live the best life possible. So the first thing I would say, is definitely self-belief, believing in yourself, following through on what you actually want to do. And I think to get that, you definitely need a mentor or a coach in your life to help speak that into you at first. Because again, if you knew how to live the life you wanted to live, you'd already be living it. So you
mm,
probably need somebody in life where you want to be to help you grow. So that would be the first thing. I'd say the second thing is definitely priority management. I would say is understanding what's most important because I feel like a lot of people they have goals, they have dreams, but they don't know how to prioritize what's important, how to cut certain things off. Again, they love the, kind of non-productive things that they're doing maybe in their day or in their life. And to have somebody who can kind of help them walk them through, prioritizing things that are more important. For example, maybe your goal is in the next 6 to 12 months, I want to create an extra source of income. I want to, be job optional in the next couple of years. Well, there's a certain path that you have to follow and steps that you have to take. It's kind of like going to the gym or getting in shape. Not everything about that process is going to be something you want to do, which is why most people hire a trainer. So again, as a business owner, it might be a good idea to hire a coach because the reason why people hire trainers is because they get them to do things that they don't want to do. If your trainer didn't tell you to do it, you very very likely wouldn't do it. And it's the same in business. Most people won't give up their weekday evenings or weekends to go after their goals and dreams. They won't invest in themselves to go to a business conference or a networking event because one, they either don't know how to do it or what to do, or they're just, a little reluctant. So again, having that priority management of somebody who can teach them what they should be prioritizing or how to get to their goals. And then the last thing, as we were talking about, I would say is faith, is realizing that ultimately it's not going to be up to you. Ultimately, God is going to carve your path out and walk you down that path. Now, again, you still have to put in the work. You can't just, only believe and, miracles are just going to happen. You do have to put some effort, action behind that belief. But I would say that that is the next best thing. Because once you start on that journey, it's very easy to get into that controlling mindset. Okay, I know what I need to do. It should work exactly how I expected it. But again, it's not going to happen that way. So having that belief and that faith of, I'm on the right path, I'm serving other people, I'm doing a good thing. I just need to stick with it long enough. So I'd say self-belief, priority management, and faith can help people. Those are the things I've learned, and I think can help other people on their journey to whatever their goals are, whether it's being a business owner, growing in their careers, or just creating more friends or relationships.
I totally agree. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing all that and, expanding on all of them. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Not just like
absolutely.
a, hey, here's a quick list, but no, that's great.
Yeah.
And I love how you said previously in the episode here, uh, how you said faith, right? God's going to give you a little bit and then you can handle a lot, right? And
Hmm.
that's what we need to work on. Just a little bit right now. You don't need everything to fall in our laps. So just one
Exactly.
step at a time. That's 1%, better every day, and you'll be well on the way. No matter what money, if you want to talk about money, great. If it's relationships or whatever, that's fine too. Yeah, anything, right? Um,
Exactly. Yep.
John, I'm glad we met. I'm glad you came on to share a part of your journey, entrepreneurship, faith, and everything else in between. So I appreciate your
Absolutely.
time. It was very awesome.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity. I hope I added some value to the listeners that are tuning in.
Absolutely.